But that's what makes this story so captivating. Because this coin isn't just valuable, it's a mystery that's been sitting under everyone's nose for decades. Now, picture this. It's 1989. Gas is under $1 a gallon. You've got your Walkman in your pocket, and nobody's thinking twice about quarters. They're just what you toss into an arcade machine or a parking meter. But in that same year, at the Philadelphia Mint, something went terribly, or maybe miraculously wrong. A tiny error during production created a batch of coins that looked ordinary at first glance. But for a trained eye, they hold clues that can change your life. Collectors didn't notice them right away. In fact, most people spent these coins without hesitation. They jingled through vending machines, laundromats, and cash registers for years. But one collector, a guy from Pennsylvania, stumbled upon something that didn't look right. Under the bright light of his magnifying glass, he saw it. A 1989 quarter with a striking difference that made experts' jaws drop. He'd just discovered what's now believed to be one of the rarest Washington quarters ever minted. And its auction value? Over $1 million. Now before you rush to your change jar, let's slow down. Here's what makes this coin so special. The 1989 P. Washington quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Most of them are completely normal, made of copper nickel, weighing about 5.67 grams. But the rare ones, the ones worth life-changing money, show subtle, almost ghost-like errors. Some were accidentally struck on planchets meant for other denominations, like dimes or foreign coins, creating thinner, lighter, and slightly off-center quarters. Others have double strikes, where the design was imprinted twice, creating a haunting shadow effect around Washington's face and the eagle on the reverse. And a few, even more mysterious examples, show partial mirror-like proof surfaces, something that should never appear on circulation coins. That's the magic or the madness of coin collecting. A fraction of a millimeter, a small minting mistake, can turn pocket change into $1 million treasure. Think about it. Someone could have used one of these quarters to buy a pack of gum 30 years ago. And today, that same coin could pay off your house, your car, and your grandkids' college tuition. Now here's where things get intense. These 1989 P quarters don't scream rare. They don't sparkle or shine in a special way. They hide. Their value lies in details you can barely see, unless you know exactly where to look. So let's walk through how you can identify one. First, grab a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Look at the mint mark, the tiny P right above Washington's ponytail. Make sure it's clean, not altered or added later. Then check the edges. Some of the rare error strikes have smoother, thinner rims due to the misstruck planchets. If your coin feels lighter than normal, closer to 4 grams instead of the usual 5.67, you might just be holding a treasure. Next, study Washington's face. A double die strike will cause ghostly outlines around his nose, mouth, or the date 1989. On the reverse, look at the eagle's wings. Doubled feathers or misaligned features are a dead giveaway of a valuable error. But here's where it gets even stranger. A few confirmed 1989 P quarters were discovered with experimental planchets. The mint was quietly testing new metal compositions for future issues. Those test strikes were never supposed to leave the building, but somehow, a handful slipped out. Those are the ones that fetch up to $1.3 million. Now, imagine that. Somewhere out there, someone probably has one sitting in a jar, mixed with ordinary coins. Maybe they've been saving it for parking meters, or it's sitting forgotten in a dresser drawer. And the funny part? They might never know. Collectors spend decades chasing stories like this. Because every coin tells a story of mistakes, mysteries, and moments in history when something went wrong in just the right way. It's not just metal. It's a snapshot of a moment, frozen in time. And here's the best part. You don't need to be an expert to start looking. You just need curiosity, a magnifying glass, and patience. Look for weight differences. Look for odd textures or doubled letters. Compare your 1989 P to a normal one from another year. You might be surprised what stands out once you start paying attention. The guy who found the first one almost spent it on a soda. He was about to use it like any other coin, until he noticed the strange shine on Washington's cheek. That tiny moment of curiosity turned into $1 million discovery. The next time you're counting quarters for laundry or tolls, take a second look. That ordinary gray coin might not be so ordinary after all. It might be a minting mistake worth more than your car. It might be the key to a story that's been waiting 35 years to be told. Collectors know the thrill of that heartbeat moment, the flash of realization when you see something different, something rare. And that's what makes this hobby magical. It's not about money. Though, let's be honest, $1 million doesn't hurt. It's about discovery. Do we live in a world obsessed with digital everything? Online banking, virtual currencies, tap-to-pay convenience. But in your hand, you hold a piece of history, something real, something that connects you directly to America's past. And sometimes, history rewards those who take the time to look closely. So tonight, pull out that old jar of change. Dump it on the table. Line up your quarters, flip them over one by one, and look for that 1989 P. Listen to the clink of possibility with every coin you touch. Because one of them, maybe one that's been sitting untouched for decades, could be your ticket to a new life. This is how treasure hunting really works today. Not in caves or sunken ships, but right here in your living room, with the loose change you've forgotten about. Imagine the story you'll tell if you find it. The disbelief, the excitement, the sheer shock when you realize that small piece of metal is worth more than a lifetime of savings. But what if I told you that one ordinary-looking Fort Moultrie quarter from the Philadelphia Mint could be worth a life-changing $1.4 million? Yes, one coin, hiding in plain sight, could make you a millionaire overnight. Now, before you dismiss it as another wild story, listen closely. Because this isn't just about luck, it's about knowing what to look for and understanding the tiny details that separate a regular quarter from a million-dollar treasure. Back in 2016, the U.S. Mint released the Fort Moultrie National Monument Quarter as part of the America the Beautiful series. Millions were made, but among them, a few, and I mean a few, came out with mistakes so rare, so unique, that collectors have gone absolutely crazy over them. And the most valuable of them all? A 2016 P. Fort Moultrie quarter with a minting error so mysterious, it's believed only a handful were ever struck. Let me paint the picture. Imagine a die, the metal stamp that creates the coin's design, getting slightly misaligned. Not enough for a casual spender to notice, but just enough for a collector's trained eye to spot it instantly. On this coin, George Washington's profile appears ever so slightly shifted, and the word Liberty looks almost like it's been stretched or shadowed. Some even show doubling on the date, 2016, or the P mint mark, a sign of what's called a double die error. Collectors who found these rare errors couldn't believe their luck. One man from South Carolina said he thought his coin was dirty until a magnifying glass revealed the doubled lettering around the rim. After sending it for grading, he discovered it was one of the rarest known error strikes of the Fort Moultrie quarter, valued at over $1 million. Now here's where it gets fascinating. The Fort Moultrie quarter itself honors the bravery of Sergeant William Jasper, who risked his life during the Revolutionary War to raise the fallen flag while under heavy fire. The image on the coin captures that exact moment of defiance, Jasper holding the flag high against the chaos. Some say it's a symbol of courage, but in this case, it's also become a symbol of fortune. Because the very coin meant to honor that act of bravery has turned into one of the most valuable pieces of modern U.S. coinage ever discovered. Most people who own one of these coins have no idea. They're spending them at vending machines, using them for laundry, tossing them into change jars, completely unaware they might be holding a $1.4 million fortune between their fingers. First, flip it over and look carefully at the obverse side. That's Washington's face. Check the word Liberty and the year 2016. If either one looks doubled, or if you see a faint outline of an extra image beneath, that's a sign of a double die error. Second, look at the P mint mark right above the date. If it seems thicker, blurry, or slightly misaligned, you might be looking at a rare die variety. Next, check the reverse side, the scene of Fort Moultrie itself. Some of the rarest versions show what experts call a struck-through error, where debris or grease got between the die and the coin during minting, leaving unusual marks or missing details. For instance, if the flag appears incomplete or faint, that could actually be a major clue. Don't clean it, don't polish it, just store it carefully and get it evaluated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Now, let's take a step back for a second. Think about this, a simple quarter worth 25 cents turning into a ticket to a new life. That's not just money. That's a story, a legacy, a stroke of history hidden in your change. There's something poetic about that, isn't there? The Fort Moultrie quarter was meant to remind us of courage under fire, and yet, in its own quiet way, it's rewarding courage again. The courage to look, to notice, to believe that something small could hold something extraordinary. Collectors have been chasing these rare Fort Moultrie errors for years. Some claim fewer than 10 have ever surfaced in high-grade condition. Each time one is found, the coin world goes wild. Auctions explode, bidders fight over every imperfection, and the price keeps climbing. A verified example recently sold for just over $1 million, and experts believe the next discovery could easily top $1.4 million or more, especially as awareness spreads. It's the perfect storm of rarity, symbolism, and timing. And that's what makes this story so electric. The kind of coin that makes you check your pocket change twice. The kind that keeps you awake at night thinking, what if I already have it? These valuable error coins don't sparkle. They don't announce themselves. They hide in plain sight, in your car's cup holder, in your change jar, or under a pile of receipts on your dresser. All it takes is one curious look, one moment of attention, to turn an ordinary day into the day everything changes. Next time you handle a 2016 Fort Moultrie quarter, don't just glance at it. Inspect it. Feel the texture. Look closely under good light. And if you spot something odd, something slightly off, take it seriously. Because behind that simple coin could be a story worth $1 million. And even if you never find one, let this be a reminder. Hidden treasures still exist. They're not just in pirate chests or museum vaults. They're in your hands, in your pocket, waiting for the right person to notice. After all, the greatest discoveries often start with the smallest details. Imagine flipping through your pocket change and realizing that one of those worn, ordinary quarters could make you a millionaire. Picture this, a 1988 Washington quarter, the kind we've all spent on coffee, parking meters, or a vending machine, quietly holding a secret worth $1.5 million. Sounds impossible, right? But this isn't a story about luck. It's a story about discovery. Now, before you think this is just another coin rumor, let me tell you, one man's sharp eye and a bit of curiosity turned a piece of spare change into a life-changing treasure. It started when a collector in Pennsylvania was going through his old rolls of quarters, hunting for silver. He spotted something strange about a 1988 P quarter. At first glance, it looked normal. George Washington's face, the eagle on the back, a little wear on the edges. But under the right light, he noticed something off. The P mint mark, just under "In God We Trust," looked oddly shaped, almost doubled. He didn't know it yet, but that tiny detail was about to change everything. The story gets deeper. The U.S. Mint in 1988 was in the middle of a massive production run. Billions of quarters struck in Philadelphia alone. Quality control wasn't perfect, and occasionally, dies were reused, repolished, or even mismatched. That year, something happened. Some coins were struck using an experimental die, possibly a leftover from the 1987 run, one with slightly different engraving details and a misaligned P mint mark. A rare die transition error, invisible to the naked eye unless you know exactly where to look. It's the combination of its error and its condition. The coin that sold for over $1 million wasn't just rare. It was a full strike with razor-sharp details, no scratches, and what collectors call mint-state perfection. And because the error die was used for only a handful of strikes before being pulled, there might only be a few examples in existence. That's what gives this humble 25-cent piece a $1 million price tag. Think about that for a moment. Every day, millions of 1988 quarters pass through hands, cash registers, and coin jars. Most people see them as nothing more than spare change. But hidden among them could be the one coin that changes someone's life forever. A small, shiny time capsule of history, hiding right under your nose. Here's how to tell if you've got one of these treasures. First, check the front of your 1988 quarter for the P mint mark. That's for Philadelphia. Now look closely under magnification. The mint mark on the valuable version appears slightly tilted or doubled, like it was punched twice. Next, study Washington's hairline. On the rare coin, you'll notice slightly sharper curls near his temple and neck, a telltale sign of that transitional die. Flip it over and look at the eagle's feathers. If they're extra defined, almost like a proof coin. You might have struck gold, or in this case, struck silver in value. Collectors have reported subtle variations too. Coins with a slightly thicker rim, or an unusual shine caused by the experimental press settings that year. It's crazy to think how close we come to fortune without realizing it. The man who first discovered this $1,000,000 1988 P quarter almost spent it on a soda. He said he only kept it because the mint mark looked funny. Months later, after sending it for grading, the call came in. A major auction house wanted to feature it. When the hammer dropped, it fetched over $1.5 million for a coin that had once jingled in someone's pocket. Now, every seasoned collector knows this truth. The next big discovery is always out there, waiting. It could be in a roll of quarters from your local bank. It could be in your childhood coin jar. Or maybe it's been sitting quietly in your dresser for decades, waiting for you to finally look closely. Imagine the rush of realizing that a coin you've held countless times is worth more than most people's homes. Imagine the heartbeat, the disbelief, the moment you check it again and again, knowing this is real. That's the magic of coin collecting. History and fortune colliding in a single piece of metal. Let's reset for a second. Right now, you might be thinking, there's no way I have one of these. But remember this, the man who found his $1,000,000 quarter thought the same thing. He wasn't a professional. He was just curious. He paid attention. And that's all it takes. Because the minting process isn't perfect. Errors slip through, even in modern coins. And those errors are what turn ordinary into extraordinary. Next time you're counting change, slow down. Look at the date, 1988. Check the mint mark, P. And look for those subtle differences, the tilted P, the sharper details, the unusually crisp strike. You don't need fancy equipment, just good light, patience, and a bit of curiosity. And here's something most people don't realize. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC have authenticated multiple 1988 quarters with unique die characteristics. They've confirmed that a few are unlike any other from that year. Once word spread, collectors started paying attention. Prices skyrocketed, and suddenly, a forgotten coin from the late 80s became one of the most sought-after modern quarters ever struck. You might think the odds are slim. But every legendary find starts with someone who decided to look. Every $1,000,000 coin began as a penny, a nickel, or a quarter that someone thought was ordinary. Until it wasn't. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, check your change. Look through your old jars, your car console, your coin collection from years ago. Because that one overlooked 1988 P quarter could be your ticket to history, and a $1,000,000 story you'll never forget. This isn't just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery. The idea that something small, something ordinary, can hold a secret of immense value. It reminds us that treasures aren't always buried deep underground. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right person to notice. If you've ever dreamed of finding that one coin that changes everything, that dream is still alive. It's real, and it's closer than you think. Imagine this. You're holding a simple 1998 quarter, dull, worn, maybe even scratched. You toss it into a change jar without a second thought. But what if that ordinary coin, the one jingling around in your pocket right now, is secretly worth $1.6 million? Sounds impossible, right? Well, it's not. This is the story of the 1998 D. Washington quarter, a coin so rare, so mysterious, that even lifelong collectors didn't believe it existed at first. Yet today, that same coin has become one of the most sought-after treasures in U.S. coin history. And it's still out there, hiding in plain sight. Back in 1998, the Denver Mint was producing millions of quarters for everyday circulation. Nothing about that year seemed special. No big design change, no major news. But somewhere along the production line, something happened. Something strange. A handful of quarters left the mint looking ordinary, but under the surface, they carried a secret so valuable it would make any collector's heart skip a beat. Now, here's where it gets intriguing. One of these coins was first discovered by accident. A man from Colorado reportedly received it as change at a gas station. He almost spent it again the same day, until he noticed something off. The color, the texture, and then the faintest irregularity in the strike. He brought it to a local coin shop, and what the dealer told him next would change his life forever. That tiny, overlooked quarter wasn't just rare. It was priceless. What makes the 1998 D. Washington quarter worth $1.6 million isn't what most people think. It's not gold or silver. It's an error, a one-in-a-million minting mistake. Experts believe a few of these quarters were struck on experimental planchets, leftover metal blanks meant for different denominations. Instead of the standard copper-nickel blend, these coins were struck on something completely unexpected, giving them a slightly different color, weight, and even sound. You drop two quarters on a table. One rings with that classic high pitch, and the other makes a dull, muted sound. That dull one might be your million-dollar coin. Every time I tell this story, I think back to when I was a kid, searching through my dad's old change jar. I remember finding a 1998 quarter and thinking, maybe this one's special. Of course, I had no idea what to look for back then. But today, with what we know, that same quarter could change someone's life. And here's the big one. Weigh it. A normal 1998 D quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. But the rare one? It's lighter, around 5.5 grams or less. That tiny difference is worth over $1 million. Collectors say these coins almost look like they've aged differently, with a faint gold tint under the surface. Some even believe the experimental planchet came from leftover test metals used for foreign coin production, a mix-up that was never meant to leave the mint. No one knows exactly how many escaped. Some say fewer than 10 exist. Others believe there could still be a handful sitting in drawers, jars, or old coin rolls waiting to be discovered. Think about that. Somewhere out there, someone might have used a $1.6 million quarter to pay for a cup of coffee. Or maybe you've handed one to a cashier, never knowing you were giving away a small fortune. That's the magic and the madness of coin collecting. Every collector has that one dream find, the one coin that makes the years of searching worthwhile. For some, it's the 1909 SVDB penny. For others, it's the 1932 D quarter. But for modern collectors, it's this, the 1998 D Washington quarter. What's even more mind-blowing is how these discoveries keep popping up when least expected. A man in Texas reportedly found one in a parking meter refund slot. Another turned up in a roll of quarters from a small-town bank. They weren't in fancy collections or auctions. They were in everyday hands, proving that the next million-dollar discovery could be yours. But there's something deeper here too. It's not just about the money. It's about the mystery, the thrill of the hunt, the idea that something extraordinary could be hiding in something so ordinary. Every time you check your change, you're playing the same game of chance that's turned regular people into millionaires. And for the 1998 D, the clues are clear if you know where to look. Start with the mint mark, then the weight, then the ring. Look for that subtle color shift, that faint golden hue that makes it stand apart from the rest. Coin experts recommend checking the reeded edge too. Some of these experimental coins have slightly weaker or smoother edges, as if the metal didn't strike as deeply during minting. That's a telltale sign. And if you think you've found one, don't clean it, don't polish it, just protect it. Even a tiny scratch could cost you thousands. Take it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. If they confirm it's authentic, you're not just holding a coin, you're holding history. Imagine walking into a coin show and pulling that quarter from your pocket. The crowd gathers. Experts lean in. And when they weigh it, check the strike, and see the unmistakable details, silence fills the room. You've done it. You've found the treasure everyone's been dreaming of. You see, stories like this remind us why collecting coins isn't just a hobby. It's a hunt for hidden history. It's proof that even the smallest details can hold million-dollar secrets. And every time you find a 1998 D quarter in your change, it's a little spark of possibility, a reminder that the next big discovery could be yours to so before you spend your next quarter, stop for a second. Look closer. You never know what you're really holding. Because behind that familiar face of George Washington might be a coin that survived the odds, escaped the mint, and carried a secret across decades. A secret now worth more than $1 million. And if you're lucky enough to find it, well, that's the moment everything changes. Your ordinary day turns extraordinary. Your spare change becomes your golden ticket. $1.70 short of $2 million. And it could be sitting in your change jar right now. The 2014 P. Everglades quarter, a coin that hides one of the most shocking secrets in modern U.S. coinage. Most people who've ever held this quarter never looked twice. They spent it on gas, vending machines, or left it on the counter without a second thought. But a handful of collectors discovered something so rare, so unbelievable, that it turned an ordinary 25-cent piece into a life-changing treasure that IT started quietly, back in 2014. The U.S. Mint in Philadelphia released the Everglades National Park Quarter, part of the America the Beautiful series. At first glance, it's a simple design: two graceful birds, an anhinga and a roseate spoonbill, standing in the marshes of Florida's famous wetlands. Beautiful, yes, but ordinary. Until one collector noticed something odd. He was sorting through rolls of quarters when one caught the light just a little differently. The details weren't quite right. The fields were brighter, almost mirror-like. The devices, that's the raised parts of the coin, looked frosted. He realized he wasn't looking at a normal business strike. This was a proof-like error struck on the wrong planchet, and it came from the Philadelphia Mint, which almost never releases anything like that into circulation. Now here's where the story turns from interesting to unbelievable. Only a few of these were ever confirmed. Experts believe they were the result of a small batch of experimental strikes, coins that were never meant to leave the mint. Somehow a handful did, and when word got out, the hunt was on. Imagine the adrenaline of flipping through a stack of change and realizing the glimmer in your hand could be worth over $1 million. That's exactly what happened to one man in Ohio. He thought it was a joke until he sent it in for grading. When it came back from PCGS labeled as an experimental finish error with full mirror fields, offers started pouring in. One eventually hit $1.7 million at private auction. Now before you go digging through your drawers, here's how to know if you've got one of these million-dollar quarters. First, look just below Washington's neck. You'll see the P Mint mark. That's crucial. The Everglades quarter was also made in Denver and San Francisco, but the one that made headlines, the one worth 7 figures, came from Philadelphia. A regular quarter has a duller, satin-like finish, but this one almost looks chrome-plated under light. You can even test it by placing it next to a modern proof coin. If your quarter gleams just as brightly, your heart might start racing. The strike detail. On the rare Everglades error, you can see every tiny feather on the anhinga's wings and the faint ripples in the swamp below. The clarity is unmatched. Many collectors have mistaken these for special mint sets, but these were accidental releases, not collectibles by design. Think about how wild that is. Something as small as a misplaced coin press setting or a mint employee grabbing the wrong blanks created a multi-million-dollar phenomenon. It's the kind of accident that turns an ordinary day into a legendary discovery. Well, that's because many of these rare coins change hands quietly. High-end collectors often buy them privately to avoid publicity. That means there could be more out there, undiscovered, waiting in coin rolls, pockets, and piggy banks. Imagine that. You go to pay for your morning coffee, hand over a 2014 quarter, and the barista unknowingly pockets a fortune. It's the kind of story that makes coin collectors lose sleep. And it's why this particular coin has inspired thousands to start checking every quarter they touch. Every couple of minutes, someone online posts a picture asking, "Is my Everglades quarter worth anything?" Most of the time, it's just an ordinary one. But every now and then, someone posts an image that makes the experts sit up straight. Bright fields, deep detail, perfect strike, and the hunt starts all over again. That lets reset your attention for a second. Think of the number $1.7 million. That's a dream house, a retirement fund, college for your grandkids, all from one quarter that most people never gave a second glance. If that doesn't make you want to check your change, nothing will. Now let's talk about what else makes these coins valuable: condition. Even if you have the right mint mark and finish, damage or scratches can slash the value dramatically. That's why, if you think you've found one, don't clean it. Ever. Wrap it in a soft tissue, put it in a coin flip, and take it to a local coin dealer or send it to a grading company like PCGS or NGC. And here's a tip only seasoned collectors know. If your 2014 P Everglades quarter has a slightly heavier weight than normal, you might be holding one struck on a foreign planchet. A few of these experimental quarters were made on blanks mint for other countries' coins. Those are even rarer and can push values into the multi-million-dollar range. But let's bring it back to the heart of this story: the mystery of how these coins escaped. Some say a mint employee deliberately released a few to test circulation. Others believe it was a pure accident. The truth has never been confirmed, and that only adds to the intrigue. It's like the mint's version of buried treasure, a secret they never meant to share, and yet it's out there, somewhere. Maybe in a coin jar at the back of a kitchen counter. Maybe in your glove compartment. Maybe even in your wallet right now. This story reminds us why coin collecting isn't just a hobby, it's a treasure hunt. Every time you get change back, you're holding history. Sometimes, that history is worth a few cents. But sometimes, it's worth a fortune. Collectors dream of that moment, when a normal day turns into the day they find the coin everyone's been searching for. And the 2014 P. Everglades quarter proves that moment can happen to anyone. So next time you get quarters back at the store, don't just drop them in a jar. Take a look, because among the dull silver discs, there might be one that gleams just a little differently. One that carries a secret straight from the U.S. Mint to your hands. Imagine this. You're digging through your spare change, maybe looking for a coffee dollar or a parking meter quarter, and right there, hiding in plain sight, is a coin that could change your life forever. A 2019 P. War in the Pacific Quarter worth up to $1.8 million. It sounds impossible, right? But this coin story is one of mystery, chance, and pure American luck. And today, we're going to uncover exactly why collectors are losing their minds over it. Now, before you brush it off as another internet myth, let me tell you something. This isn't your average coin. The 2019 P. War in the Pacific Quarter carries one of the most fascinating modern minting stories in U.S. history. It's part of the America the Beautiful series, but this particular design, minted in Philadelphia, hides a secret that only a few sharp-eyed collectors have ever noticed. It's not just about what's on the surface. It's about a mistake, a perfect storm of timing and rarity that turned an ordinary quarter into a fortune. The year is 2019. The U.S. Mint in Philadelphia is running high-speed presses, striking millions of new quarters featuring the War in the Pacific design, a powerful tribute to the World War II battle that changed history. But in the chaos of production, something went wrong. A small number of these quarters were struck using experimental die setups, tests meant for internal use only, and a few of them slipped into public circulation. That's where the legend begins. Collectors began to notice tiny, almost invisible differences. Quarters that shimmered just a bit differently. Letters slightly thicker. Surfaces smoother, like proof coins, but they weren't proofs. They were business strikes with impossible perfection. Some showed doubling on the inscriptions. Others had mirrored fields with frosted designs, features that should never have left the mint. The mint never officially confirmed the release of these test strikes, but by the time they realized it, a handful of coins had already escaped into everyday pockets and change jars across America. Now here's the wild part. One of these mysterious 2019 P quarters sold for nearly $1.8 million at a private collector auction. And that was just the beginning. Since that sale, coin hunters from coast to coast have been obsessively searching their spare change, hoping to find one of the survivors. These coins are still out there. The 2019 P Mint mark means it came from Philadelphia, so if you live east of the Mississippi, your odds are a little higher. But no one really knows where they went. They could be anywhere. Let's talk about what you should look for. Take out any 2019 War in the Pacific Quarter you've got. On the front, you'll see George Washington's profile, standard stuff. Flip it over, and you'll see the powerful image of American soldiers waiting ashore in Guam during World War II. Now, here's where it gets exciting. Look closely at the details. A true million-dollar version will often have an ultra-sharp strike. Every line of the soldiers' uniforms is crisp. Every wave in the water gleams like glass. Under good lighting, the fields, that's the background area, look almost mirror-like. It's that strange combination of proof-like shine and business strike markings that makes these coins so special. Some examples even show what collectors call a reverse proof effect, where the background is frosted and the design shines. The exact opposite of how coins are normally minted. If you see that, your heart should skip a beat. And if you notice any doubling on the words War in the Pacific or E pluribus unum, it might be time to call an expert. Persistence. These coins didn't end up in collector rolls or proof sets. They were spent. They were used. They've been sitting in drawers, laundromats, and parking meters for years. The first known discovery came from a retired veteran who found his while rolling up quarters for laundry. He thought it just looked shinier than the rest, sent it to a grading company out of curiosity, and they called him 2 weeks later with life-changing news. That coin sold for nearly $1.8 million. He said he didn't even believe the call was real. He thought it was a prank. But when the auction check arrived, it hit him. He'd been sitting on a once-in-a-lifetime treasure all along. And here's the part that gives me chills. Experts believe there could still be several of these rare 2019 P experimental strikes out there. Right now, in the United States, there could be a handful of quarters sitting unnoticed in someone's pocket, glove compartment, or coin jar, each worth more than $1 million. Every time you dump out your change, every time you feed a parking meter or grab a quarter for a soda, you could be holding one of them without even realizing it. That's why coin collectors are calling this the modern-day gold rush. How many times have you looked at your coins and thought, nah, nothing special here? What if you were wrong? What if the next quarter you spend on coffee could have bought you a beach house? The truth is, valuable coins don't always look flashy at first glance. They blend in. They hide in plain sight, waiting for someone with patience, curiosity, and just a little bit of luck. And let's talk about condition. If you think you've got one that might be special, don't clean it, ever. Even the tiniest scratch can slash thousands off its value. Put it in a soft holder, like a coin flip or a small zip bag, and get it graded by a trusted company like PCGS or NGC. They can confirm if it's one of the rare 2019 P experimental strikes or a standard issue. Every legendary coin story started with someone who didn't believe it until it happened to them. The 1943 copper penny, the 1955 double-die Lincoln cent, the 2004 Wisconsin extra leaf quarter. All of them were impossible until they turned up. And every single one made someone a millionaire. This 2019 P war in the Pacific Quarter is the modern version of that dream. It's not just metal and design. It's a piece of history, a reminder that small details can change everything. Next time you're at the gas station, grocery store, or coin machine, take a second look. Flip every 2019 quarter you see. Check the mint mark. Make sure it's a P. Hold it under light. Feel that rush of possibility.